That's a new record by quite a bit. But he had a staff that helped me.
Yeah.
They liked, they commented, and then they're in a couple of groups where he's in a contentious race, and they poked the hardcore leftists that are supporting Bobby McCulley.
I'm ready to fire it off.
Got it.
All right.
So then they commented. All of that puts it at the top of the feed. Well, good morning. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today, as always, it seems I have another political guest, but it's because I'm passionate about it, and I think our country's on a precipice. We need to pick good people that will be servants. And the man in front of me is somebody that I truly believe in, and I hope that he earns your vote today. With me is the 21st Congressional candidate, Michael Maher.
Thanks for having me on, Eric.
So why'd you jump in? Why are you doing this?
The reason I jumped in is actually rooted in my faith and who I am as a person. It's not just because of politics. I didn't desire, nor do I desire, a political title or a future in politics. Wait,
but I thought in this state, if you went into politics, you became a king like Gavin, and then rules didn't apply to you. Who wouldn't want that?
No, I'm tired of these career politicians. Guys have been in, I'm running against Jim Costa. He's been in politics, volunteering since high school, and immediately, right out of college, went into elected office.
So he's never had a real job?
Has never had a real job. He comes off and says he's a farmer, which I almost want to say that's...
The farmers I know, they end up using four-letter words when that comes up.
Well, he's not a farmer. He's a landowner who is has tenants that rent from him. He's not a farmer.
Well, I don't want to spend a lot of time on your opponent, but there was a debate that happened not long ago. And Jim Costa, once again, failed to show up. He has a record of that. I'm aware of 3 other times, so that's a total of at least 4 times when he's been afraid, or conveniently has an excuse always, to not debate. What's up with that?
I was disappointed. I was really looking forward to it, especially with the veteran debate. Me, I'm a veteran. I've met with him, actually, it was 2006 when I was at the Fresno VA hospital getting treatment, and I had an issue. I said, there's a massive parking problem here, and he told me that he's going to fix this parking issue. It's 2022, the parking issue hasn't been fixed. The parking garage that he said he'd get done never got done, and that's when I started looking into some of these promises that have never been delivered. He's really good at sponsoring a bill or writing up a piece of paper and pushing out right before election, and then never following through. And that's the problem. He doesn't follow through in things that matter for our people, this district, or frankly our state. And for him not to show up to debate me for the veterans endorsement, I was just really disappointed in that.
I thought our veterans deserve better.
They absolutely do. And that's why when it came to the end, I did receive the endorsement of the veterans. I'm proud to have that endorsement, not only as a veteran, but just the service of the people that are here in the community. And not just our veterans. We have the amazing Maung Laotian community here. And the secret wars that occurred during Vietnam, all of those people that have came as political refugees here into the United States, they need to be recognized, and there needs to be more done to support them. So there's a lot of different facets of how our military operates, and it even gets into Syria and Afghanistan. Our interpreters that worked with our forces, how are they being taken care of? They're frankly not. They've been abandoned by this administration, and it's an issue that I see very close to my heart, and an issue that I want to make a priority.
Well, I'm thrilled about that. I'm going to shift gears a little bit, though. The California Farm Water Coalition has an event in Sacramento this coming Wednesday. That is the 26th, starting at 8 a.m., going to 2 p.m. So 10/26, Wednesday, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Capitol steps. And it's a group that is addressing one of the central issues here in the Valley, which is water. You know about that event, or
I do. I think it's fantastic, and the great thing about our farmers coming together and all the issues that really I'm talking about in this election, in this race. I keep telling people we're a first world nation, and I'm running on third world issues. This is basic infrastructure issues, basic public safety issues, energy issues. What's going on with our farmers, with water here in the Central Valley? My wife's family's been farming throughout the valley for multi-generations. Everyone is affected, regardless of Republican or Democrat. Everything I'm talking about is independent of your party. These are things that affect every human in the valley.
Everybody needs a shower and wants to flush their toilet.
And we all need to eat. And with California producing 1/7 of the world's ag, what we do for vegetables and stone fruit and citrus and nuts, it's unspeakable what's being done to our farmers. And sadly, if this is the only way to get the attention of our governor and our elected, then that's what they need to do. And I completely support what they're doing, going to Sacramento saying they've had enough.
Well, if farming dies, what happens to even Fresno that has some industry besides it? Everything changes if we don't continue to get water to farmers so that they can grow food. It's not wasting water, it's growing food.
Well, I've been talking about this. We need to rebrand how we talk about water. Our farmers don't use water. Just like when you go to the grocery store and buy a bottle of Arrowhead water or whatever brand you want to choose, most of those water bottles are filled with city water, run through some charcoal filter, and then put into a plastic bottle. A plastic bottle, mind you, that's made from petroleum products. So that's a whole other issue right there. No one asks them how much water they use. Our farmers don't use water, they repurpose it. They take water and they repurpose it into commodities of food, of citrus, of vegetables. It is the people in the grocery store that consume it. And we do a better job of getting our fruits, vegetables on to the shelves of grocery stores all around the world, and here in the United States, we do it at a higher labor cost, higher food safety standard than anywhere else in the world, and with less water. And for us to say that we care about our environment, we care about employee basic protections, and we're not increasing ag here in California, that goes against everything that I've heard from any person who supports our environmental movement. It goes against every argument. We need to increase our ag production here. We need to bring more water to the valley. There is an abundance of water if we manage things properly and do some of the things that I'm talking about with nuclear energy and desalinization.
As long as I can remember, we've been in the top 3 ag community counties, and Tulare is often winning. Fresno's currently winning, but your 2 counties are the number 1 and number 2 pretty regular. They're top 3 for years and years. This is essential for your district.
California ag is it's a $50+ billion annual industry. Just in one commodity, just on almonds alone, we're losing $80 million a year because of the prices. That's a huge nut to swallow for our almond farmers. That's one commodity. What we're seeing with the ground that's going fallow on the west side is only due to mismanagement. We want to talk about a global drought that's going on, and that is a serious issue. But we have solutions to deal with this. When we have 70% of our fresh water getting drained out into the ocean, why are we doing that? We're doing that because of mismanagement in our wastewater treatment plants all in the Bay Area.
So what you're saying is they're dumping partially treated water into the Delta?
And when they dump it into the Delta, it affects the flora and the fauna and the fish life, all of the things that are vital for life in the Delta. And the only way to counteract that right now is, instead of fixing the wastewater plants and investing in our infrastructure, it's dilute it with fresh water. That's one issue. Also, our forest management has been atrocious. These fires that continue to wreak havoc on our state, which causes massive releases of carbon dioxide and all of these greenhouse gases that our environmentalists are concerned about. I keep reminding people, the real environmentalists and the people who fight for sustainability are our farmers, the ones who came out here and settled California. If you were not an environmentalist, if you were not for sustainability, you didn't survive to the next year. You take care of your property. You want to talk about soil nutrition and health? Our farmers are doing that. that they take care of the earth and the ground, and that's
At a level that is unprecedented.
absolutely.
You know, they're out there literally taking samples and chemically analyzing what's happening, not just on their property, but within little micro areas of their property. They'll look at the crop and they will often do some treatment just to one spot.
Exactly.
That's how efficient they are. And that doesn't happen in other places.
It doesn't happen in other places, and that's what's so incredible about California ag, about our farming. And the other thing that's not talked about, the fastest growing farm owner is in the Hispanic Latino community. So a lot of these policies, this is not just the old rich white farmer. And I don't even like saying that, but sadly, everything right now is getting boiled down to something that can be used to divide us. That is to a race or a group or this or that. I'm tired of that. As a business owner, getting into this election is about bringing people together from all walks of life, from every background, to solve these basic problems that we need.
Well, this is a nonpartisan issue.
All of this is nonpartisan. Everything. Taking care of our environment is a nonpartisan issue. Making sure our forests are properly managed gets us 1 million plus acre feet of water every year because we're not having overgrowths, which are then not being managed. So having some of these industries that we now know and see publicly reported as being funded by Russia, being funded by outside forces, outside state actors to purposely drive environmental catastrophes in the United States.
So like Sierra Club has donations directly from the Russian government? Or from the oligarchs?
I think there's evidence that's been publicized from groups that are directly tied to the Russian government. And I would say, let's build bridges, because I actually support a lot of the intent of the people that stand up and say they want to support their environment. Their heart is in the right place. It gets into where is the information that they're getting fed? Where is the information that the media they're consuming? And are they being misdirected on the application of how to take care of our environment? That's why I want to work with everyone, regardless of their party, on actually solving these issues with off-the-shelf solutions that already are here and exist, and focus on bringing the change and opportunities back to the valley. Every inch of dirt in the Central Valley, we can farm and we should be farming. There shouldn't be anything going fallow if we properly manage the water that is available and start solving the issues in the state. With Southern California, the water that they need, that's a reality. Let's address that.
Well, we haven't built a new reservoir. We don't maintain the canals we've got. The 2 tunnels project became the 1 tunnel project. Friant Dam, and just below it, there's a huge leak, and a bunch of water goes into the ground table. Now, that's not completely lost water, at least for the farmers in that area. Their water tables be getting recharged, but everybody else that was supposed to get that water, because they're not maintaining the canals, is losing out.
100%. And we live in on a planet. I'm not a flat earther. I believe we live on a globe and an atmosphere, and the amount of water on the planet stays the amount of water on the planet. Where is it relocated to? Where is it going? We have technology. We have the ability to properly manage, and also in the years of excess water, we need storage so we can have it available in the years of shortage. We have simple solutions for this 2035 requirement that Gavin Newsom and the state of California has for environmental pollution, for our infrastructure, for our transportation, moving to electric vehicles when we don't even have the electrical grid and power to charge everyone on electric vehicles. That's why we have to take steps immediately with the cleanest energy production on nuclear energy, which can provide abundant power. It also can provide the energy needed for desalination, which can take care of all the water needs for Southern California and the Bay Area.
Absolutely. I hope that it shifts and they come to their senses. Nuclear is done all over Europe. And the left here often points to Europe as the guiding light. Then why is it that they're able to use nuclear, France particularly, small power plants that power whole communities, and yet it's a terrible idea here?
I think that gets back to Carter. Carter made it a moral issue when he was president on nuclear energy. One of the things that I would say on that, and you brought up France. We're talking about the Paris Climate Accords. Paris isn't France. France is 90+% dependent on nuclear energy. That's a reality.
I didn't realize it was that high. I knew it was high, but
Extremely high.
wow.
And if everyone wants to say, well, it's dangerous, we have on every single U.S. Navy aircraft carrier 2 nuclear reactors with 6,000 people living on board that warship. Every single U.S. sub has a nuclear reactor on it with people living directly next to that. What is the issue? There isn't an issue. If we can have nuclear reactors on warships, we can absolutely build them on dry land. And there's plenty of ways to deal with this. It is proper management and proper regulations. We're not going to have issues. Again, that gets into how do we also do desalination so it's not actually polluting our oceans. We can't just be thinking about taking and making fresh water and then dumping hugely, just basically ultra salty water right back. It will kill the seabed. But one thing we can do is turn it into a commodity. I look at things as a business. Every aspect of my business, how can I make a return on that?
So rather than importing salt, we produce our own salt.
Put it out into an ice field right there at the facility. And I have a couple locations. One is Navy Weapons Station Seal Beach down in Southern California. It's Navy. Congress is a federal office. Let's do all these things federally so we don't have to worry about some of the challenges of dealing with California.
That's innovative thinking.
And then put the salt right there. How much salt does the Department of Defense use? And we can have...
I have no idea, but...
Fresh sea salt available for our troops.
Well, you pay a premium for sea salt.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and this will be produced faster because it's coming out right from desalination.
Well, and good for the environment in that people want it, and it doesn't have to ship from across the world.
Exactly. And there's some other benefits and other things that come off. And the biggest thing is we can also do hydrogen production. And so I'm a proponent of hydrogen. It's the only way that we can get to an electric future for aviation. We can't be taking all these metals that are needed to produce batteries that degrade, ranges that decrease, that can't even tow or haul. And we're telling everyone that you're going to move to electric trucks for Class H trucking. I mean, that doesn't work.
I think that's a pipe dream at this point. Technology might move forward, but we're not there.
We are there, though, with hydrogen and fuel cells. It's just the infrastructure. There already is trucks, Hyundai, Hyzon Motors. There's multiple companies that can do hydrogen, run it through a fuel cell, power the electric motors, and then you have a decreased maintenance costs. But there has to be investment in this infrastructure, period. But we cannot do these things at the cost of the gas at our pumps or diesel fuel. Those are things that have to be increased production here in California. Because if you truly care about the environment, California produces fuels, our refineries are cleaner than anywhere else in the world. If we really care about the environment, we need to increase our production here, so we are now exporting our fuel, because our fuel is cleaner. It's at a better, again, we talked about higher wages. Everything that we do is at a higher standard in California. We start exporting it, we start producing it, our fuel prices should drop drastically.
And a huge bonus is that we provide good jobs, because I think good jobs are essential at the middle of all this.
Exactly.
Having a thriving economy is basically part of the American way of life, and I think that we've got some tough times ahead of us, but tough times, I hope, make Americans innovative.
Absolutely, and the biggest thing is you want to see an economy take off, you lower their utility costs. Just think of grocery stores or cold storages. If you are paying a few bucks for your electrical power because how cheap nuclear energy is, what are you going to do with that excess cash flow? You're going to be able to use it to invest in your community, in your business, and grow your business. You want to tackle inflation? Let's lower the cost of energy in the United States, and inflation will come to a dead halt, and then we'll actually start seeing the return of the strength of the U.S. dollar.
We're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. To all those people watching on social media, thank you. If you believe in this man, or if you just like my show, like and subscribe. If you make comments, it moves us towards the top of the feed, which means more people will see it. So, hope you do that. Because you got a limited schedule, you've gone from a busy man to an incredibly busy man. We're going to go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Today I'm joined by Michael Maher. He is running for Congress against the dreaded Jim Costa. I added the dreaded. I don't think that's actually part of his name, but everybody I talk to, it's dreaded, Chicken Jim. There's not a lot of positives, and it's unfortunate that we have a lifelong supposed servant of the people that hasn't had a real job. We need somebody that has had a real job and understands what it's like to be connected with the people, and I just don't believe that Jim Costa is. I want to go ahead and shift a little bit towards kind of a kitchen table issue. You know, gas and groceries have gone insane as an element of inflation. By the way, you're representing the 21st District. That is southern Fresno County and all of Tulare County. Is that about right?
No, actually, at Tulare County, we only have a smaller portion. We have everything north of the 198 in Visalia.
Okay.
So Visalia North. Tulare County is Kevin McCarthy's district as well as David Valadeo's district. It's been split up.
Okay. Well, it's still largely Tulare and Fresno County.
Exactly.
Largely ag. What do we do about the fact that gas has gone crazy? You kind of touched on increased production here rather than import oil from across the world, because we can kid ourselves, but we're still using oil. The world is still using oil, but they're not producing it cleanly.
So we do depend on it. And just for plastics, there's so many other commodities that come out of the petroleum industry that's not just gas for our vehicles. It's something that we need to do here in California, an increase in our production. And I spoke a little bit about that already on we do it better and cleaner than anywhere else in the world. And if our production increases and demand stays the same, that means we're now having a net positive increase for the environmental standards. So for environmental regulations to prohibit production in California is only it's very counterintuitive, and it actually goes against what they're trying to solve. I've received some comments on, well, you can't correlate the rise in prices of our groceries and food and gas to this current administration. And I laugh at that, because the reality is markets swing based on driving forces. And what we see, just like stocks, news comes out, all of a sudden the stock tanks. What we saw with...
so they're anticipating what's happening. That's what happens with the markets. A big news comes out, they anticipate it and correct for it. Exactly. That might be up or down depending on what's happening.
And that's why we see President Biden saying, well, let me release some more of our strategic oil reserves, trying to drive down the price of gas right before the election. We're at the lowest levels in 40 years. And that's not the purpose of those reserves. What we can see when President Biden came into office, he immediately canceled the pipeline that was in production. Or not in production, but is under construction, getting ready to get into production, and then allowed Nord Stream 1 and 2, the sanctions were lifted. They did do a reversal. Those things immediately drove a response in the market.
Well, it made our oil more expensive because we cut off our supply, reduced our supply, and he didn't just do that. He also added regulations and shut down a lot of Alaska.
Exactly. And so, furthermore, we're now learning of some of the other conversations that were going on with Saudi Arabia, with OPEC, to further crunch our gas prices. And these things are all at the detriment of the American people. When you raise our energy costs, or the fuel for transportation, what does that do? That prevents a lot of businesses from operating. If you operate a business, you have a credit line. When you're operating trucking, you're moving your commodities around, and you're not getting paid your net 30 return for your pay, and now my costs have doubled or tripled just on fuel, what does that do? And then some of the things that AB5 has done here in California against trucking, that's a state issue, but what is going on is a extreme attack on just the ability for our country to do commerce, the issues at the ports. There are so many things that are being done that are direct mismanagement and almost in opposition of just common sense on business. And it needs to stop.
I see that as one of Gavin's greatest strengths. Whatever the wrong move is economically, that's what he does. Whatever the wrong move is socially, that's what he does.
And that's the problem with when you have people who are only in politics for power or to get to the next level. It's kind of a shock marketing. You can get people to do something by creating fear.
Mm-hmm.
That's not sustainable, and that's not what we need for our elected leaders. This is our taxpayer money. What we're doing, and you're going to give us our own money back on some gas rebates. You're going to give us our own money back. You're going to take our own money and use it to work against us. It is, the people have had enough. I've had enough. That's why I've stepped into the arena to run for office.
That's why I'm now on the radio. I've had enough.
And one thing I will say, I see so much hope for our future because of that. The amount of people that have said, I'm putting my business interests aside. I'm going to get involved in the government. I can do both. I'm going to keep doing my business, and I'm going to get involved in my local government. I am going to get involved in my city government. That is how we start seeing change. Real people with real life experiences getting involved and providing pragmatic solutions to our problems is how we fix this.
So if you're elected to Congress, Congress controls the purse strings. So you can limit and shape, as one of 435 members, what happens with the budget, which I think would make a difference with inflation. Are there allies? Is there a plan that the Republicans have that you're kind of in line with?
Absolutely. So Kevin McCarthy and the Republican Party came out with the Commitment to America. And one of the things that they said immediately when the new Congress is in is we're going to defund the 87,000 new IRS agents. We're trying to get more IRS agents with deadly force capabilities in a administrative capacity for an agency that should be just focused on tax regulation. And we're taking and we're down 50,000 plus troops for recruitment just in the Army alone. Properly managing those things. If you get into actually passing a budget, that immediately is going to slow some of these things down. Some of these social programs, they're great, but we have to start figuring out and fixing our basic infrastructure, or we're not going to have a country.
My problem with social welfare programs is there seems to be no end. It's not a hand up. It has become a handout without any expectations. We moved in the right direction during Clinton towards limiting the times you can be on it, and then Obama largely ignored and got rid of a lot of that. I think we need to go back to that. I think that President Clinton and his compromise with the Republicans was the right way to go. It needs to be a hand up, not a handout. Of course, there's a few people that truly can't make it, truly handicapped. But everybody else should be able to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's one of the things. How do we make sure that we're taking care of the disadvantaged? How do we make sure that we take care of the people that truly need help? But also, how do we make sure that we're not having fraud and abuse in these systems? When we see what's going on just in our prison population, what was the unemployment checks that were being filed.
They did pretty good there.
There is billions of dollars of fraud and abuse to these programs that are designed with good intentions, just poorly constructed. The same thing, why does the IRS need more people? It's because Congress has completely failed to do its job to create and give us a simple tax code that exists. There's too many carve-outs for too many special interest groups, and that's why it takes so many more people to go back and review a lot of these filings.
Well, and they talk about how they're going to get the rich, but the rich are the ones that created the carve-outs, and by working with both Republicans and Democrats. This is a swamp problem, not a party problem. So the rich have lawyers that then exploit that. If they, they can settle for a small amount of money. if we just had a simple tax code where it's this percentage, and if you're below a certain income, I'm willing to go, okay, maybe you pay near nothing. But the idea that most people don't have basically the same rate, forget about the deductions, make it simple.
Well, and
a flat tax is what I'm proposing.
And if you did that, it would question why we need such big bureaucracy. Why do we have so many people if we have a simple flat tax, or some of the other ideas that simplify taxes? And when you have a simple tax code, what we've seen, the evidence is business will come back. Even high net worth individuals are fine paying taxes if it's simplified and there's an easy way to understand how the taxes are being done. What else we will see is an increase of revenue brought back into the government because of the money that is being brought back. Also, foreign investment will come in a good way, not the foreign investment like China's doing, buying up all our farmland and raising prices and then causing major issues for our national security.
Well, they're not our friends. We're kidding ourselves if we think they're our friends.
No, it is. That gets into social media. That gets into TikTok. That's the algorithms that's used in the United States versus what's used in China. We are at war with socialism, and we're at war with other countries that are trying to devalue and destroy the U.S. dollar to raise up an alternative currency, because that's the play that's going on right now in this world.
But there are a lot of signs of hope. When we look at Europe or we look at Canada, nationalism and populism are from the center right. They're on the rise.
They are, and I think the great thing is, what's the name of the show? The Constitutionalist.
Mm-hmm.
That is the amazing thing about this country, is this republic that we live in. Our Constitution is an incredible document that affords us certain rights, and how we represent ourselves in government will allow us to weather these storms and get back to righting the ship. And I'm very hopeful for that future. I'm hopeful for this election and seeing Costa retired and implementing some of these solutions.
Well, we're often referred to as the last best hope for the world. Recently, I talked with two different naturalized citizens. So one was born, I'm not going to tell where they're born because I don't want to out where they were, but both very smart ladies. And they both were like so appreciative of the freedoms they had here, where they could essentially become anything they wanted here. And they were like, why aren't you fighting this woke culture? And this is coming from people that, they thought this country was so special, they immigrated and left their families to come here. Well, why don't we appreciate that in the same way? And those that have been here for generations.
Because people aren't paying attention. It's been a slow boil of wealth and distraction, and when you don't go through some of these hardships, you're not able to see how special it is.
We're spoiled
and complacent in some ways. That's why it's good to go out and visit other cultures, go travel the world and see how amazing America is and still is. And I think what happened over the pandemic and a lot of the issues, people said our elected that we thought weren't doing their job aren't doing their job, and people started paying attention, started looking into issues at the local level, at our school board level. I know for me, as a husband and as a father of two kids in school, I started asking some serious questions. What's going on? And then you start seeing how much money is being used and where is it going?
And money that essentially that money turned into inflation because the government doesn't make mony.
No, it does not.
It just spends money. It taxes it. It takes other people's money, or it creates it out of thin air by printing it.
Exactly. And that's something that has to be done differently. And we look at what was going on in California pre-pandemic and where their budget was. There were states that were defaulting and going, basically they were bankrupt.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden this pandemic happens and money starts getting printed and moved around, and things get, there's a surplus now supposedly in California. And instead of investing it in our infrastructure and things that are needed to grow just industry here, it's all disappearing into hundreds of thousands of dollars of homeless facilities that are proven only to increase
more homeless.
And not that I'm against the homeless. There's major issues there that need to be addressed, and just building them a nice house that costs $400,000 is not solving.
Were any of them as cheap as $400,000? I thought they were $500,000.
Yeah, I'm trying to be respectful.
I mean, my house is significantly less than that.
Yeah.
That I worked 70 hours a week for 3 years to have my down payment, and sometimes I worked 80.
Same thing. I started off enlisted right out of school and worked my way through college. These are the things that I've been able to accomplish, not just by my own strength. I truly believe and give credit to God for providing the opportunities that I've had. But what I see on basically a Home Depot dog shed that's now costs that much money, something's up, and the public knows something's up, and we need to start being responsible with the resources that we have.
Well, you can feel it. You can't go through life and not notice it. Cardi B, by any stretch of the imagination, a very wealthy woman, was complaining about inflation the other day.
Incredible.
You know, and it really, if we were going to be honest, it wouldn't matter whether gas was $40 a gallon to her. Yet she's still feeling it and noticing it.
Everyone is noticing it. I made a post on social media recently about when you see some of the people, their income is not increasing, but costs are increasing. When they're on fixed income, one thing that is public is the credit card debt has gone through the roof, and people are supplementing their income on credit card. And once their credit card limits are hit, what do they start doing? They start going back to cash. And so when you see people and you see pumps left that have $10 or $5, it's because they're my interpretation, and this is actually directly from speaking with another person, that this was their situation. Their cards are maxed out, so they're only being able to use to put cash in to make sure that they're getting to work. One person was selling old sneakers to get cash in. People are selling things just to survive because of the rising prices of food, the rising prices of gas, and that's 100% on the shoulders of our elected leaders.
I'm self-employed and very connected with used stuff. I buy and sell antiques for a living. And the number of people that we had in during what they called the Great Recession, very last part of the Bush II presidency through Obama, where the economy was slow. I am seeing more people now than I was seeing then, coming in desperate to sell something. Now, they're not saying it because I need to eat, but to pay their bills, definitely. They're not quite to the food, but it's kind of sad to see. And I feel for those people because their pain is real.
Their pain is absolutely real, and this is the sad reality of what our leadership has allowed to occur. And we have, what's sad is we have the solutions to deal with these problems, and they're just not being done.
Well, wait, but our president just said that, really wasn't much of a recession and we're in great shape. That's not an exact quote, but that was the gist of what he said, if you can ever figure out the gist of a statement he makes.
Yeah, I truly feel bad for our president that he's in that situation. It's
painful.
It is.
I'm mad at his wife.
Yeah.
I'm saddened by him generally.
Yeah, I mean,
his wife, who's been married to for quite some time, should be his caretaker, and she's allowing somebody that I just don't believe is up to the job in any way, shape, or form to continue.
And you have the questions of mental dexterity that were being asked of our previous president, and then what we see going on right now. It's concerning. And then what else is concerning is who's the next choice? Kamala Harris, who can't stop laughing and doesn't really also put together coherent sentences.
She's great with word salad.
Yeah, and that's the reality of where we are. And I think that people are saying, "What is going on? We're electing people, and this is what we're getting." It's insanity. I mean, it's crazy. I feel like I'm watching a reality TV show instead of the President of the United States of America. There's That's why I'm very conscious of how I'm speaking about it. I respect our country. I respect the office. I even respect Congressman Jim Costa as an elected congressman.
Then you're nicer than me.
But I do not take that, or anyone should take my respect for the office as a some sort of endorsement or support for the failure that they've wrought on this country.
That's fair. We're going to go ahead and take a break. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about crime, and then as we wind down, because we're down to about 9.5 minutes by the time we come back, hope and solutions, contact information, ways to get involved. All right, let's go ahead and come back. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX. I am joined today by Michael Maher. He is running for the 21st Congressional District, which is kind of southern Fresno County and northern Tulare County. Is that closer?
Pretty much, yeah. We're Fresno 99 south, so we get Fowler, Selma, Kingsburg, Goshen, Visalia, all the way out to Exeter, Farmersville, up to Lemon Cove, Orange Cove, Orosi, Cutler Orosi. We get Dinuba, Reedy, all that's in there, Sanger, and then come back into, we get the International Airport, Fresno Airport. We have Fresno State in the district, Fig Garden, and some really good portions, all of downtown Fresno, Easton, so west of the 99. It's a great district, rural, farm, and also metropolitan.
So you're kind of accountable to a huge variety of people in your district.
It is the smallest geographic district in the Central Valley. Every congressional district is the same population, but geographically it's the smallest in the district. And it's actually a district, after everything's been redrawn and done, that was a district that Joe Biden beat Donald Trump by 20%. So
wow.
That's a pretty substantial change as far as how blue the district is. And what's really incredible, that me running as a Republican, and the recent Trafalgar poll shows that we are in a tie.
Statistical tie. He's
tie.
That far ahead.
And it was overpolled by Democrats, and it was 0.04% ahead of me, a statistical tie, but the undecided, based on those numbers, 70% of the undecided would go with the new person because of how much name ID he has. So it's encouraging. Our work is not done. The big thing is I'm out there trying to fundraise. This is a grassroots race.
Well, you won Tulare County outright in the primary.
We won Tulare County outright, and we're second in Fresno County. And the reality is the primary itself, for 44 years as a politician and as a sitting congressman, he only received about 46% of the vote. Wow. In a district that was a Democrat 20. So a huge...
So plus 20. I was thinking it was a plus 16. It's plus 20.
It was a plus 16 as far as what I originally looked at, but as far as what they were telling, if you look at the presidential election cycle, that's how much of a swing that it had for the Democrat Party. So he didn't even clear 50% in that blue of a district. So everyone that ran against him, including the other Democrat candidate, all of us were veterans.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is the first time a veteran has run against Jim Costa. And also, for crime and safety wise, it's the first time a former law enforcement officer is also running against him.
That's right. You are both.
I'm both. And a business owner. So.
And he is older than the 20 years old that he looks.
Yes. And I am older than as I'm told, the 28 years I look. So
I want to touch on crime just a little bit. Kind of crime and homelessness, the environment that makes homeless encampments okay also, I think, because they're so frequently involved with drugs, brings crime. It makes people afraid. Even in the tiniest community in your district, I'll bet you there's a homeless person. This isn't going away, and crime is touching everybody everywhere. What can you do?
One thing that we can do, again, there's state issues here and then there's federal issues. One is being open and public and transparent on the reality of these situations. What we see on the border crisis, this isn't just an immigration problem. This is a funding of cartels. This is funding organized crime, the human trafficking that is going on across our border, and the rise of fentanyl. Fentanyl is so addictive. People are now seeking out fentanyl as their drug. There's a homeless crisis, but it's also tied to a mental health issue that is going on across the nation. Veteran suicides are up. It's no longer 22, it's 44, or even during the pandemic, and up to 60. And that is just evidence of the amount of and the suicides nationally have just been going through the roof. There is a massive mental health issue going on in this country, and that's fueling the homeless epidemic. That's also fueling the increase in drugs, and then we have crime associated with that are people trying to continue to fund their drug habits.
Well, where it's not a state issue is the fact that Congress has a lot to do with the border. What would you do there?
So one thing I think we do is, just like Joe Biden's finally doing, is allowing the border wall to be built back in Arizona, because Democrat Senator Kelly said, I need to keep my seat in the Senate, so will you please allow me to have
for
that?
Politics, he's willing to do it.
He's willing to do it for
not
politics.
because it's the right thing.
Exactly. Not because nations should have a sovereign border. Not because we actually need a clear immigration policy that allows for people to freely flow across our border back and forth. The fallacy that for some reason you want a secure border is somehow racist or anti-immigrant. I'm completely pro-immigrant. I myself have a Portuguese background. We have immigrants in our family. What we see just on a farm and ag, we need this population here. These are our brothers and sisters. These are our community members.
And the ones that come the right way are the greatest patriots, the greatest believer in this American dream.
100%. And they're pro-family. They're pro-God. They're pro-work. I mean, it's an incredible community. And so and I speak with a lot of them, and they say, what's being represented about our community is not what our community stands for or says. And so we need to complete this border wall. One, it's a work program. Let's get this thing completed. It's because we can. Let's allow and stop the cartels from being enriched. They're making billions of dollars off of our inability to complete a basic border project. And with that money is fueling death and war south of the border. It is also fueling what we see right now going on here with the drug epidemics, the homeless crisis, and frankly, the crime, the rise in crime. This gets into a whole other issue at the local level of these district attorneys that are funded by extremist groups that are subverting the rule of law. Fortunately, we have a good DA in Fresno County, a good DA in Tulare County, great sheriffs. They are about doing the work.
Mm-hmm. But their hands are somewhat tied.
Their hands are tied based on further up the state level.
We're down to about 1:45. So I understand that you have a ground game and you have a new captain for that. So if you were interested in helping, I'm going to go ahead and give the number. It's 559-301-1766. So that's somebody that might either make phone calls or knock on doors, hand out flyers, that kind of thing. You also have a website, michaelmaher.com.
Just my name, Michael, Maher.com. And you can also fill out a volunteer form there and get in contact with the campaign. There's a big red button. You can donate. Again, this is a grassroots movement and so well supported by so many in the district. That's why we're moving the needle on this thing.
Can you name just your top 10 endorsements? We're down to a little less than a minute.
Yeah, so the big one is somebody I've known for a long time, is former National Security Advisor, Ambassador Robert O'Brien, has endorsed me in this race. Kevin McCarthy, leader of the Republican Party. In the House, we have multiple sheriffs. Tulare County Sheriff, Kings County Sheriff, Kern County Sheriff, Mayor Clovis, Mayor of Reedley, multiple mayors and city councils, all actually through Mayor Visalia. The support has been across the board, and even some bipartisan.
Pretty impressive
for a first-time candidate and some local guy. I'm very humbled by the amount of support that we've had in the endorsements. And if you even want to give an endorsement, you can go on the website and fill out an endorsement.
I'm going to take these last 7 seconds and say that I wholeheartedly endorse Michael Maher for the 21st District, and I hope that we get to retire Jim Costa.
Thank you.
We are basically done. I go ahead and play the music. This is Eric Rollins, the Constitutionalist, here on 1550 KXEX, the best talk in town. Any final thoughts for the social media group?
Thank you for turning in. One thing, if you really want to get some likes and comments on this Facebook post, talk about nuclear energy, talk about water. I've received some of the most colorful profanity laced at me through my website because I'm a proponent of nuclear energy. Also, just because I'm a former FBI agent. I think you tag all those things, you'll create some sort of social media buzz.
I will play with that and just see how that goes.
Yeah.
Most of my Facebook friends, though, are actually conservative, so I don't know that they'd be upset. But if I put it on the KXEX page, it might just be a lot of fun.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you guys for tuning in, and thank you for having me here.
You are welcome.